Welcome to Geopolitics Now. It's Wednesday, November 5th. I'm Anne-Sophie Goninet. Today, Pierre Haski unpacks what has been called hostage diplomacy in the wake of the release of the last 2 French citizens imprisoned in Iran.
Hostage diplomacy is one of the evils of our time. There have always been hostage takings, whether criminal or terrorist, national or international. But cases of state hostages have been on the rise in recent years, and the international system is powerless to act. A state hostage is a person held under some pretext by a government that hides behind a pseudo-judicial process. This is what happened to Cécile Colère and Jacques Paris in Iran. As is often the case, they were arbitrarily imprisoned under the pretense of espionage. This has happened several times in recent years. At the height of this crisis, there were up to 7 French nationals being held. But the good news is that there are now no French nationals in Iranian prisons. We can only celebrate Colère and Paris being released from prison. They are at the French embassy awaiting repatriation, which was announced Tuesday evening by French President Emmanuel Macron himself. But we can still be outraged that they spent more than 3 years in the grim Evin prison in Tehran, at the heart of one of the most repressive systems in the world.
What is the logic behind this hostage diplomacy?
The hostages are bargaining chips. Last January, an Italian journalist held in Iran was exchanged without further ado for an Iranian engineer arrested in Milan and wanted by the US justice system for trafficking in military technology. Last September, the Iranian foreign minister said that the 2 French nationals would be exchanged for an Iranian woman arrested in France, Madieh Esfandiari, who has been detained for more than 6 months for defending terrorism online. Whether this deal is real or not remains unclear, but Iran doesn't release its hostages for nothing. The Iranian regime is not alone in this. In 2018, when the CFO of Chinese tech giant Huawei was arrested in Canada, at the request of the US, Beijing immediately imprisoned 2 Canadians without charge. They were held for 3 years and only released when the Chinese executive was allowed to return to her country.
Could there be political conditions attached to the prisoners' release?
In Iran's case, this is unlikely. Franco-Iranian relations have deteriorated further since France, along with the United Kingdom and Germany, pushed in September for reinstatement of UN sanctions for non-compliance with the nuclear agreement. The release of the 2 French nationals removes one obstacle but does not make political dialogue much easier. French diplomats are careful not to use the term state hostages with Algeria so as not to exacerbate the situation. But the Franco-Algerian writer Boualem Sansal, who has been detained in Algiers for a year, also falls into this category, as does the journalist Christophe Glaise, sentenced to 7 years in prison on absurd charges. Would these 2 men have been imprisoned if relations between Paris and Algiers had been good? Western governments are powerless in the face of these state hostages. The UN and international courts are at a loss, leaving only negotiation and, more often than not, tacit acceptance of the kidnappers' conditions. These are indeed states with which we will have to continue to deal in the future. It's cynical but effective.
C'est cynique mais efficace.
Geopolitics Now is a WorldCrunch production. Automated speech technology is used for Pierre Haski's English voice. If you like this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you could help us out with a follow, share, and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcasting platform. For more of the best of the international press delivered exclusively in English, visit us at worldcrunch.com.